This video is brought to you by you. I set up a poll a little while ago so that all of you could decide the next video. The results, however, were not exactly what I was expecting to see. 2 videos won, resulting in a tie. Naturally, I just decided to flip a coin, but soon after doing so, realized there was a problem. The video that won the coin flip, I didn't have enough content for it. No problem though, right? Just make the other video. Well, at first, that was the case. Then I realized that even that video was too short. For about a week, I pondered. I didn't know how to address this issue. I couldn't figure out any new content for either video. Then it hit me. Make both videos as one. So welcome to Personal Video Game Mysteries II and Horror and Non-Horror Games I. At the same time. The Void Squid, Minecraft. To start the video off, here's a topic I've never been able to talk about before. Believe me when I say that I've tried. The first ever video intended for this channel was to contain this topic, but as is made clear by checking my first video on the channel, yeah, that didn't work out. Allow me to frame this as a story, because I believe it would make it way more interesting that way. I was playing Minecraft one night. I don't remember the year, but I know it was sometime before 2014. I was in creative mode, in a super flat world. Anyone familiar with the default preset for the super flat world knows just how little depth the preset offers to the terrain. It's like a layer of grass with a few dirt blocks underneath, followed by a layer of bedrock, and then just the endless void directly under it. I don't recall exactly what I was doing in creative mode, just that it led me to dig down to bedrock, and beyond. As I stared into the abyss below Y level 0, I was surprised to find that it wasn't the void that I remembered. Unlike the void that I remembered, this one actually held life. Contrary to its name, something actually inhabited the void. A squid. Much like any mob under bedrock, it had a shadowy appearance to it, resulting in the thing being nothing more than a silhouette of what it could have been. I could see it amongst the void particles, its body animating exactly as a normal squid would. Unlike a normal squid, however, this squid wasn't exactly obeying gravity. I wouldn't call it flying, more so swimming. This shadowy squid only proceeded to grow further away as I stared, until it presumably succumbed to void despawning. Ever since this encounter, I've naturally questioned what exactly it was that I saw that night. Was it a bug? Was it something else entirely? I can't say for sure. I do know that squids were at one point very buggy, though I'm not sure they were that buggy exactly. I know for a fact that prior to 2014, squids were unable to swim upwards, meaning that this void squid's behavior was perfectly in line with the more typical variety. Minecraft is a strange and mysterious game at times. It's not too uncommon to see something unexplainable, as much as we'd like to believe we understand it by now. The void squid will always be an anomaly to me, and I accept that. It's a fun story to tell after all. Turnback Cave, Pokemon Diamond and Pearl. If you've been on my channel for any length of time, you've likely noticed the various creepypasta videos I've made, specifically the video game creepypasta videos. I like them, obviously. Take a moment to picture the following and tell me that this isn't something straight out of one of those creepypastas. While backtracking through an old location you've already been through, you encounter a path in the trees that wasn't there before. You approach it, entering this previously non-existent location, only for the music to turn ominous. After traveling through a fairly generic area with high-level Pokemon, you encounter a fog-covered lake. Near it rests a cave opening. Upon entering it, the ominous music doesn't stop. You find yourself in a dense fog. The area is labeled as Turnback Cave. Before you stands a very vague message that you can't decipher. You continue to a nearby door, only to find yourself traversing room after room of fog and even higher level Pokemon, until eventually, you find it. A giant monster stands before you, towering over even Palkia and Dialga. You approach the beast, and it lets out a strange shriek as the battle begins. The creature, identified as Giratina, is far stronger than any opponent you've faced thus far, easily destroying your team. You lose the fight, and vow to never step foot in that nightmarish cave ever again. Anyways, yeah, that's an actual thing in the game. Turnback Cave is such an ominous and sudden location. It's framed in such an incredibly creepy way, with it never even being announced. The area just shows up without warning. Pretty fucking unsettling to first encounter. Void locations. Subnautica below zero. Well. Tired of hearing me say voids yet? Coinciding with the prior topic, I'm here to talk to you about yet another void relating to sea life. This time, I'd like to talk about Subnautica below zero. I think I've made it clear on this channel at least once, twice, maybe 3 times that I enjoy Subnautica. The original game is one of my favorite games of all time for a variety of different reasons. The sequel, Below Zero, on the other hand, is perfectly fine. I could go on for hours about why the sequel does not live up to its original, in terms of atmosphere at least, with a lot of it being relating to just the fact that the loneliness and isolation factors were heavily nuked in favor of more fleshed out characters. Thankfully, despite the fear factor being beaten to death and left in a nearby ditch to rot, the game does not skimp on the oddities. Before diving into the main event, I'd like to go over something first before explaining. It's a little bit relevant, and it pertains to the original game. In the original, the way the game map ends is by presenting the player with an area known as the Crater's Edge, or the Dead Zone, or the Void. There are a lot of names for it, but for the sake of these, I'll just call it the Void. The Void is an area in the game that has the water take on an uncomfortably brilliant blue hue. The second you enter it, it's noticeably wrong in just how vibrant it is. Following this, if you dare continue off into the Void, you'll soon be met by adult ghost leviathans. While not out to eat you, they are extremely territorial and do not like your presence. If they didn't deter you, let it be known that for as far as there is this game world beneath you, all that exists is water. Swim in any direction leaving the map, and all you will find is water. Eventually you might find that the ghost leviathans leave you alone. This is because you've entered the true Void. The true Void is characterized by not even being a biome. The ghost leviathans no longer consider you in their territory, as technically you aren't in any biome at all. From here you can swim as far out as you please, but will never find anything until the game finally puts you back on the center of the map for going too far out. There are definitely some anomalies out there, mind you. Some players have reported hearing roars of an unknown creature, while others have reported finding strange biome patches that contain nothing but the biome ID of the biome the game thinks you've entered. All of this has led me to be extremely interested in the topic. Naturally, this leads into the topic at hand. What about Below Zero? Well, interestingly, Below Zero does have something similar, yet different, and it leads to its own oddities. For example, there are now 3 types of Void: World Edge, Tundra Void, and Water Void. World Edge is a relatively safe, if not ominous, location. Once you enter it, the music shifts to an uncomfortably whining ambience, being your warning sign you shouldn't go any further. Helpful resource deposits can be found here. If you think you're brave enough, you can continue into the Water Void. This is where the danger sets in. A new threat emerges in the form of a creature known as the Void Calicerae, slowly ganging up on you as you continue to remain in the Void until you leave or die. Now, you may be wondering what exactly the Tundra Void is. Well, simply put, it's any area of land the game does not intend you to be in. There are no threats in the Tundra Void, but it's probably not a good idea to explore it anyways. I can't vouch for the stability of the terrain collision detection. With this info in mind, an oddity worth noting is that the player cannot complete the game without entering the void. You may question that as someone who has already beaten the game. You never recall stepping into the void, yet you still beat the game. How is that possible if what I'm saying is true? Well, I got curious near the starting area of the game, deciding to get on top of the terrain. Using some interesting prawn suit grappling arm maneuvers, I managed to get up there, and noticed the biome ID was suddenly Tundra Void. Unnerved, I immediately went back down, uncomfortable with this. Upon doing so, I was even more unnerved to find the biome ID didn't change. It was then that I found out the entire area is Tundra Void. Speaking of Tundra Void, here's an interesting little mystery I am yet to find an answer to. Apparently there exist multiple debug areas positioned far out in the void that can be seen in normal gameplay. Am I gonna get footage of them for this video? No. The very idea of entering the crater edge / world edge makes my blood run as cold as ice. I would love to investigate the out of bounds areas in these games, as I have many questions and mysteries to solve there, but I know for absolute fact that nothing about this is a feasible idea. Vectron, Steamworld Dig 2. This right here is what I think of anytime I think about this specific topic. It's such a brilliant example of a non-horror game horror. It all starts once you reach the bottom of the mines. You'll encounter a cave that is nothing but ominous. The ambience that plays during this section is already far beyond unsettling. When you finally reach the teleporter to Vectron, your normally sassy and mischievous companion Fen will act more quiet and serious than normal. A complete turn from what they're usually like. They seem hesitant about you entering Vectron, and as we'll soon find out, their concerns are all too valid. The last thing they say to you before you enter is, "If you see anything moving in there, just run. Run as fast as you can." The tonal change is almost immediately noticeable. The terrain consists of metal tubes and scrap, with a large inactive robot being encountered soon after. While it doesn't move, it foreshadows the appearance of something far worse. Frequent thunder and lightning further contribute to this atmosphere of unease. Fen's last words may still be fresh in your mind at this point. You'll come to find that this area has minerals, just as any other location in the game does. Except these are pure nonsense. Soon after your first mineral encounter comes your first enemy encounter. If you remember Fen's words, you know not to hesitate. Run. These Vectron sprites, unlike Fen, are hostile and attack by possessing nearby technology. In this instance, they'll possess monitors and make them explode, dealing damage if you're too close to the blast. If they have no technology, they themselves will chase you and attempt to explode. It's at this point that you might notice the background. It's full of large, vague structures, presumably robots. They possess glowing red eyes and seem to be infinitely larger than you. After traversing a stretch of land, something strange begins to happen. Distorted hex code will flash on screen until finally a terminal. With a bit more travel, you'll reach the point where they finally appear. Circumstances not previously met. A Vectron sprite and a robot within close proximity. The robot blocks your path completely, meaning something needs to move it. You know where this is going. After that incident, you'll find yourself in a minefield of them. Try not to anger the Vectron sprites, while also trying to progress. One wrong move and... Eventually, however, you'll have no choice. and Dusty Dunes Update, Fossil Fighters Champions. If you've already seen the first video, you likely know about this. The Dusty Dunes are a location in the game Fossil Fighters Champions where the player can obtain a variety of unique fossils. The location itself isn't all that exciting. Unlike most dig sites, the place is just one large open area with almost nothing defining it. Almost nothing. Anyone who visits the dig site will likely immediately notice the giant rock. It's hard not to notice it, considering it appears to block off another section of the dig site. For the longest time, players like me had questioned what exactly was happening here. Was it an area you could unlock through some sort of feat? Was it a cut area in the game files? Was it nothing more than a simple, confusing attempt at a landmark in this barren, unremarkable wasteland? Well, we need not question now. The answer has been revealed, and I'm pleased to say that they are nowhere near as mundane as I had feared. Someone actually found an unused section of the Dusty Dunes in the game with an action replay code to access it. Weirdly, however, there doesn't appear to be a way in or out. No locations that directly link to the first section of the map. What makes this even stranger is that there is something on this map, indeed something. A very noticeable and apparent slope with sand flowing downwards. Attempting to hit it with your pickaxe causes the player to react as though they've hit an indestructible object, rather than, sand. The fossil density is akin to that of a pay-to dig site, with fossils being absolutely fucking everywhere. This, alongside it containing fossils typically only found elsewhere with extremely low odds, leads me and a lot of people to believe it was intended to be DLC. There also apparently exists a string of text referring to the DLC in the game, so mystery solved for the most part. Alongside this, however, exists yet another interesting Fossil Fighters Champions discovery. The dig site known as Seabed Cavern always stood out to people, including myself, as a weird area in the game. You can only ever visit it for a short period of time, and upon completing the story section there, you can never return. It also contains a variety of rare fossils with an alleged inability to get them anywhere else. The player can always dig as much of the fossils up as they want before triggering the event, then leave to refresh them. This, for a long time, was considered the only way to do this. That was until the very same person who discovered the Dusty Dunes DLC area also discovered that Seabed Cavern was intended to have its own DLC too. It would have allowed you to return to the Seabed Cavern at any time via the same method as Dusty Dunes. I have no idea why they didn't distribute this DLC, as it seems perfectly complete. At least we got the Salada DLC. I love that guy. Dark Matter, Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon has had many impactful moments. Many remember it for the emotional moments, and some for the great characters. It's almost exclusively the second game that they look at, however. The fourth game in the series, Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon, is a little less well regarded and a little less well known. Despite that, the plot is still really heavy, and is genuinely a fun ride. The main villain of the game is a being known as Dark Matter, a concentrated ball of darkness that was born from the negative emotions of every Pokemon. Throughout the game, it absorbs the life force of Pokemon, turning them to stone, and in the end is defeated through, well, I'll get to that shortly. When I first played through the game, I will admit, I didn't get it. Dark Matter as an antagonist, I didn't get it. In fact, the way it speaks is like practically a meme. After going through a lot of hardship in life, however, I get it, and I love it. Dark Matter represents general negative emotions, obviously. For this instance, however, I'll be referring to Dark Matter as a representation of depression. As shown in game, nobody is immune. No matter how powerful you are, dark matter still turns you to stone. Powerful beings like Arceus and Mega Rayquaza are helpless to stop dark matter. This is all too true to life. Anyone can suffer from depression, no matter how powerful, wealthy, talented, or emotionally mature you may be. You are not immune. Even the god of the Pokemon world couldn't fight it. Now, we reach how dark matter is defeated. Your partner Pokemon, whoever they may be, accepts dark matter. Dark matter reminds them that it'll come back. Even if you destroy it, dark matter will come back one day. Your partner, however, knows this. They know this can and will happen, but they accept that. They accept that part of themselves in life. There will always be negative emotions. There will always be hardships, pain, suffering, and fear. We can never truly escape these concepts no matter how hard we try. That may be scary to think about, and I can understand why, but this game put the idea in my head that I can overcome them. Anyone can overcome them. The first step to overcoming them is to accept that they are a part of you, and that they are a part of life. And as long as you never stop fighting back, dark matter doesn't stand a chance. In the end, the player can faintly see the text, "Thank you," as the screen fades to white. Dark matter is personally the scariest thing in a non-horror game to me. Not because of its appearance or any of the real in-game reasons. Sure, it's scary in-game, but I find it scary as a result of having been there. I once didn't see the point in life. I held a nasty outlook. Why continue on when it's clear that the bad stuff will come back one day? Is life really all about suffering over and over? I eventually learned the comfort of being finite. Just as happiness is finite, so is suffering. I accept that part of life, just as the partner does. I'm not immune to dark matter, but I can still fight it. I hope whoever you are, and wherever you are, you keep fighting too. Have a fungus, and happy holidays, everyone.